Hi guys, my name is Winnie and welcome to the World Spin Podcast, the home of Formula One content and everything motorsport. Welcome to our Chinese Grand Prix race debrief. Formula One has finally returned to the Shanghai International Circuit for the Chinese Grand Prix after a 5-year absence, and did it deliver? I will leave that out for you to answer. The race was quite, went as per usual. I mean, I don't know if you've watched or seen the results for the Grand Prix, but if you're here, I'm guessing you have seen the results. Of course, it's another mega dominant victory for Max Verstappen. Oh my God, I just almost said Lewis Hamilton.
What did she say?
Anyway, I think let's just get into it. Today's race was, coming from a very eventful qualifying. Not really eventful in the sense of anything happening. We just had that shocking exit of Lewis Hamilton in Q1. So that means he lined up P18 for the race today. And I mean, he drove nicely. It was like a brilliant drive, but I don't know if to start this episode with like hot takes. I have so many things to say today, like apart from things related to the Chinese Grand Prix, but also I feel like let's get into the hot takes first before like we dissect this weekend. So one, my first hot take of this episode is that I personally don't think it's a good idea for Peter Bonington to go with Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari. I know there've been those rumors and everyone wanting, we all love people love Bono. They have like this good, wonderful, magical, not magical really, but like a good working relationship. Peter Bonington, Bono is Lewis Hamilton's race engineer, and he has been for a while now, and people thought with the move from Mercedes to Ferrari, of course Lewis Hamilton has to move with a few of his team, and that's one still unconfirmed move of Bono. Is Lewis going to move with Bono? And I personally don't think Lewis Hamilton should leave Bono at Mercedes. And here's my reasoning why. So there's this article that Mercedes put out. I mean, it's quite old, but I'll try to link it in the show notes. So they're explaining how the number of engineers available at the trackside, like how many, when you go into a Grand Prix weekend, how many engineers do the teams have? Yeah, with them or back in the factory. Of course, like Formula One teams are very delicate. They just run a very delicate dance. So they did that beautiful write-up, explaining the different roles they play and the different types of engineers. Like there's a trackside fluid engineer, which actually is like Stephanie Travers was a former like trackside fluid engineer for Mercedes, the first black woman on an F1 podium. And yeah, shout out to Stephanie Travers. So they're explaining the different responsibilities and like job descriptions for this engineer. So they're like performance engineers, mechanical engineers, whatever. Like, I mean, what types of engineers do the drivers share during a race weekend? It's just a very good. I learned so much. And one of the responsibility I picked up from like that write up for like the race engineer, like Peter Bonington's, one of his responsibilities is to communicate feedback from the driver to the team. He's like the link between the driver and the team, like the team both at the track and back at the factory. So that means, what does this mean really? Of course, like a driver is not like an engineer per se, right? So that means they're giving feedback to the race engineer as things are happening. They're giving feedback back to their race engineer. And now it's a responsibility of this race engineer to get, like, he's the link. He's like, sometimes when I'm telling you, okay, maybe the car doesn't feel right and I don't know like what that means, like today's Oscar Piastri's, after his small collision, was like, oh, by the way, is there damage on my, like, how bad is the damage? Like, it's not the team who told him about the damage. It's him who, he got back to the team. He's like, oh, how much is the damage? Like, yeah, that's like really interesting because those are things that a driver can feel. Like maybe if I'm losing downforce, if the car is not like turning, I feel like it's something that's not working. So that's the feedback that the race engineer is supposed to give back to the track people and, back to whatever the feeder system is, like in, like for example, say in Mercedes. And for the last 2 years, of course, Mercedes has been like, I feel like they are developing like backwards. They're trying, but like it's been so hard. They've not hacked these regulations. And coming into 2022, 2023, we've had Lewis come out and say, really, I was giving feedback. It was, no, they're not listening. Yeah, we know better. We know better. And like, of course, there's Lewis giving feedback. Of course, like when they're doing their debriefs, they're like, oh, this didn't feel good. But there's also that link, the race engineer who is like that link from the driver to the rest of the team. And if that means if his feedback as a driver was not being taken seriously, that also means there was also some level of either broken telephone or whatever between Bono and Lewis Hamilton. I'm not blaming him for anything. I'm just thinking like maybe this move from Mercedes to Ferrari, I mean, of course, teams operate differently, but that's like my hot take. I do not think Peter Boddington should go with Lewis. Like if he goes with him, oh, well and good. They have an interesting, maybe well-working oiled machine relationship between them, like race engineer and driver. So if he does go with Lewis, that's good. But also, I don't think it's a bad thing that he leaves Bono behind at Mercedes. That's my first hot take. I don't know, do we need like to take a breather first before we just jump into like the other thing? And so like during one of our post-quali shows, or we now have a post-quali show. If you've not listened to that, it's just the episode before this. We do now react to the qualifying news, and this weekend we reacted to like the sprint race and everything. So we have a post-quali show. So during one of those shows, we launched something we'll be calling the bee, the honey, the sting of the weekend. So the bee is like what was like the biggest headline for us, for what stood out for us most. The sting is what was like an moment like from the weekend, like what's tongue from that weekend. The honey is like what's like that one sweet thing coming from this weekend. And I think from when we did our post-quali show, I said just let's wait for the whole weekend to conclude. I have the sting of the weekend has to be Lewis for me. The sting for us this weekend has to be Lewis missing out and starting P18. That was like, oh my God, seeing as how well he had run in the sprint race, finishing P2, that was like a strong performance. And like going into then qualifying and him qualifying P18 was like, yeah, that was really like an ouch moment. And then the honey of this weekend has to be the honey for this weekend is Zhou Guanyu's. Like they had like a special sport, like Pak Family sport for Guanyu Zhou. Like the crowd went crazy. Also, like when you compare this crowd to the previous Chinese Grand Prix, like this was like massive turnout. Come support the first Chinese Formula One driver, that is Guanyu Zhou, and having him, when you read about Guanyu Zhou's like story, like moving across the country, going to England, to the UK to, commit to his racing, career, trying to, it felt so nice. And seeing him, he was really overcome with emotion, standing on that place, squirting, hands on his head. He's like just trying to take it in, and the crowd wheeling him on. Even like during the whole race when he was doing his moves, like he didn't finish in the points unfortunately, but like the crowd was wheeling him on with the different overtakes he had today. Like that was like the honey of the week. That was like, of course, like very, I don't even know why it's not the bee of the weekend, but like, yeah, that was really wholesome. It felt like he's the one who's won the Chinese Grand Prix. And I think he's also taking it in, thinking that this is his first home race since he's started racing in F1. This is the first time Formula One has raced in China when like we have a Chinese driver on the lineup. And I think it must be a lot. Of course, we are proud of him. Personally, I am proud of him. I do love these stories like in Formula One. Like this it took me back to that win by Pierre Gasly in Italy when he, that confetti all around him. And he just sat there on the podium, taking it all in. It's just, I know it means so much for these drivers. And it also like, it's just a beautiful thing when emotion is able to like seep through the screen and we can feel it as fans from like this other side of the world. So that was really like the sweetest thing ever, to be honest. Like him sitting there, the crowd, really willing him on and, cheering for him. That was really like a beautiful thing to watch. as let me continue, and then I'll give you my beef with. But the beef for this weekend, I will get back. I will get into it as we continue with this episode. So I think let's just get into debriefing the race. Yes, the start was good. Oh, Alonso, guys, can you talk about Alonso? Alonso has been on it. Alonso has to be on. No, I know what my beef for the weekend is. My beef for the weekend is I'm a Taylor, I'm a Swiftie, of course. I'm a Swiftie and I'm a Formula One galley. So, my worlds go colliding. And, Aston Martin, Fernando Alonso is doing TikTok better than the people would expect to be doing TikTok as, better than he is. Last year, Fernando Alonso won some award for being the best TikToker or something. Isn't it crazy? He's the oldest driver on the grid. He's 42. He's turning 43 in July. Isn't it crazy that he's doing TikTok? He's even doing TikTok better than, of course, yeah, he has to do it better than I do. Anyway, that is so crazy. So that has to be the beef for me. That crossover of, you remember last year when we had that Alonso rumors that apparently Taylor and Alonso were dating or whatever. So this is the weekend that Taylor Swift released her much anticipated the what is it called? The Tortured Poets Department album that had a bonus thing, and she released 31 freaking songs. That's crazy. So anyway, that's not we are not concerned with that one. Amazing discography or whatever. But now I think for Formula One fans, what stuck out for them was that she had this one song called I'm Gonna Get You Back. And there's a line there that's you really have, with Taylor Swift, it's always an Easter egg hunt. There's always tidbits dropped here and there. So you really have to be careful in the way you listen. So you're oh, I picked that there. So there's this line there. She says, I'm an Aston Martin that you steered straight into the ditch, then ran and hid. And I'll tell you one thing, honey, I could take you. Anyway, that's the song. That's a line. I'm an Aston Martin. I wish I could sing it. I have still not memorized the rhythm, and I'm a very bad singer. But that's really, and of course Aston Martin, wow, bang on it. They already made a TikTok about it, and Alonso is that, I don't know what, it's just a stock video of Fernando Alonso. He's shh, just listen to this, guys. Taylor Swift made a freaking song about me. But okay, that's just us doing the extra Easter egg hunt that Taylor Swift always sends us on. So that has to be the beat. It's always such a cool crossover when the things you really find some level of them intersecting or something. So yeah, that's hilarious. Have you guys listened to her new album? Are you liking any? It's always cute when the driver make this covers the teams. McLaren, I think they did, and Mercedes as well. It's always cute, and I love when my words collide. So anyway, tell me what song you're loving from the new album anyways. So that has to be my V for the weekend, and Fernando Alonso has been absolutely on it this whole weekend. So and I've talked about it. I don't even mention it when we did the quali debrief, the post quali show. Fernando Alonso has, no, I didn't say it. It's in a video that we didn't post when I was reacting to Fernando Alonso's contract reactions. I will try to work on that. So Fernando, of course, signed a contract with Aston Martin for next year. So at least that has moved. It will have a domino effect. The driver market is still up in shambles as well. Remember, Carlos Sainz doesn't have a drive for next year, but Fernando Alonso signed with Aston Martin for next year and 2026, and of course there are plans for him to just stay with that team even past 2026 in management role or whatever role. And I say Fernando Alonso would make a very good team principal. I believe he has it in him, and Fernando is you see the way he is driving, his reactions. I know people keep on saying age, and it's such a stark double standard when people talk about age, and they're praising Fernando Alonso for it, but then when it comes to Lewis, it's oh my God, is he growing? He's getting old. Oh, I just don't like that double standard. Anyway, we have to give credit whatever it's due. Fernando Alonso is doing amazing. He's doing an amazing job for Aston Martin. Him coming switching to that outfit, the Aston Martin outfit. He's doing a brilliant job for Aston Martin. So that contract, but then I mean, of course, people like he got asked during one of the drivers conference this weekend, this Chinese Grand Prix weekend. So he was being asked, like, was he there were rumors, of course. Fernando had a cheeky coffee there with, I think, Toto Wolff. He was out there. I mean, he's friends with George Russell, so there's some time we had seen them going out just before the season started, really. And we thought maybe could he be moving to? Could he be? Could he be enticing or maybe entertaining Mercedes a little bit? But I don't think they were really seriously interested in Fernando Alonso. And then there's also like Could Fernando go to Red Bull? We didn't think that was going to happen anyway. So yeah, that's good. I mean, I think he also needed to move. To be honest, I think he needed to be very hasty inside, not hasty per se, but like not take advantage. But I feel like I don't think there were talks for him to go to Mercedes or Red Bull. And why would you want to go anywhere else? Aston Martin looks like they know what they're doing. So maybe that was just like him playing safe to just sign with Aston Martin. I mean, remember there's another Spaniard that's like also looking for a drive for next year. So maybe there was that. So we're happy that that he will be on the grid next year. So Fernando Alonso, I even lost track of what I was actually talking about. This is so crazy. I promise now we need, I think I need to do this more of a conversation, have like a host, like a guest with us to debrief one of these races, because I can go on and on and on about like different topics, like the same topic, and then my thoughts are always like everywhere, and that gets crazy sometimes, by the way. So Fernando Alonso, yeah, back to this. We actually have to start like now. Yeah, he had a very good start. Almost, of course, took that P2 from Perez. Perez didn't have like a very, very, very good start. So we had Fernando Alonso taking. I'm trying to look at the results from today. Yeah, so Fernando Alonso had a very good start. But then the strategy for Aston Martin today was just tricks. I don't understand it. Like yeah, I know he was missing. He didn't have like a second pair, like a second set of like the hard compound, and I didn't get to see how many were remaining. Pirelli always posts this information, but this weekend they didn't post these details before the race. I don't know why. Anyways, I feel like the race was quite. I just wanted to like do a summary. We can go team by team. Maybe that would be better, right? Yes, I feel like that would be better. So going into this race, a two-stopper seemed like the most, optimal and the most, no-brainer strategy for the teams. So we had Hamilton starting Ukochini, P18. So Hamilton, Tsunoda, and Stroll started on the softs. The rest were, I think, on mediums. Yeah. Now I have to fact check myself as we go. Yeah, most of the drivers started on the mediums. Yeah, so... And yeah, so you said Tsunoda, yeah, and Sargent as well, and Stroll, yeah. So we had those drivers starting. You start on the softs to make a bit of, get a great launch off the line. But then we saw Lewis. I think he even lost position at the start. That was like a really crazy start for Lewis Hamilton. This race went on. Honestly, there wasn't so much happening apart from Bottas. Bottas retired. He power unit issue on that Sauber. Yeah, so he had a power unit issue. But I have a comment about that. I kind of felt like they waved the double yellows for so long, and we had like a driver out on track, and the cars were literally passing the drivers, the other cars that were still passing there. Like, I feel like that's dangerous, coming from a weekend. You remember when like George overturned his car and he was like calling desperately. You could hear the fear in his voice, asking for like for a red flag, like red flag, because he's literally like, his head is on the floor, like he's overturned, and that's crazy. And then for it to actually happen today, I just feel like they were not very serious with safety today. Like, can we be serious? Like, I kind of feel like that safety car, first of all, they did like a virtual safety car, and then for a minute there, and then now they brought out the full safety car. So we had like, of course, that triggers a lot of flurry of activities in the pit lane for drivers to pit. So a lot of people pitted during that period. And when you pit under the safety car, of course, you don't lose so much time. Like under virtual safety car, you lose like 15 seconds, and then no, you save 15 seconds, right? Yeah. And then under like a full safety car, you save like 20 seconds. So like that was really optimal for a lot of drivers to pit. But there are drivers who didn't pit during that time, and like Lando and Leclerc, who went a bit longer with their stints, with their mediums, they preferred to like stay out there. So there was that like safety car that at least tried, like the race was looking very straightforward, and Bottas was having such a good, like, if like we can remember, like Sauber, they were having nice, he qualified P10 yesterday, so that was really, it was really good. So, and then it was very unfortunate to see them retire on that power unit issue. And their pit stops today were actually good. I don't know if it's because they knew where they there was still one slow one. The first one they did with Joe was actually good, like a 2 point something, and then they did another 5-second thingy. It was just I don't understand. I don't know what's plaguing their pit stops, but I feel like they're improving, so that's good for them. I don't think there's anything much to just. I've already talked about Jomi. I loved what he did this weekend. It was like he didn't win, but like this was like a very monumental weekend for him. Let's go into Red Bull. I feel like this debrief should take that. Like, let's just go team by team. What I thought about everyone's like a performance. Let's start with Red Bull. Max Verstappen, of course, comfortably cruising, into victory at the Chinese Grand Prix, finishing a cool 13 seconds ahead, almost 14 seconds ahead of Lando Norris. Max Verstappen has been on it. And today, I think during the post-race interviews, Christian Horner has been asked about it. Like, yeah, I feel like he's literally on another planet. I feel like he's having such a good year. Apart from, he unfortunately retired in like, I know we've gone several places and I've already forgotten where we've raced already. Oh yeah, that retirement in Australia for Max. That was like the only, I think, like the only outlier per se, and Carlos Sainz winning that particular race. But I think he's having such a brilliant start to the season. Remember last season, at least for some of the early races, Checo had won a few. He won Saudi Arabia and he won Baku. He won in Baku. I feel like Max is, of course, he has a fast car, but there's one thing to have a fast car, but then you also have to be one with your car as a driver. And then there's so many factors that happen in Formula One. So it's not really like only about the car. I believe he's really performing out of this world. His performance is out of this world, and I have to give it to him. I think he's just every weekend he's coming in. When you come into Formula One, he is completely destroying, obliterating the competition. Like he is. I don't know if it's just become a norm for us to actually just say, yeah, the fight behind Max Verstappen is tight, but never the fight. You cannot take it to Max Verstappen. Even during the sprint race during this weekend, like he pulled out of Lewis Hamilton, and like he was able to keep his tires like consistently on the same like pace. As in, I don't know, this RB20 is so good with the tires, but also like Max Verstappen is very good with how he handles the RB20. Like, isn't it crazy? And Max Verstappen was named as one of the Time 100 most influential people like in the world. Like, that's amazing. But then people have been like, oh my God, tell me one thing is, the thing is, of course, like Max lacks the aura, let's just be honest. Like, he's not like, charismatic or whatever. Even like actually went and read that Time 100 article done on Max Verstappen. There was nothing really personal. The way the others, so the way like they do the categories for the Time 100 most influential people, they're different categories. So I think Max was in a category called the Titans. Is it Titans or something? So they're different categories. They're artists, Titans, icons. So Max was in the Titans, the same category as Patrick Mahomes, the NFL player. We all know Patrick Mahomes, right? Yeah. So So Max Verstappen was in that category, and he's like, the way they do like a photo, and then you can go read a bit about like what this person does, what they are. So the Patrick Mahomes, like, it's, of course, he's an athlete, and there's like a personal angle to that story. So it's like selling you and drawing you in. You're like, oh yeah, cool. Patrick Mahomes is quarterback for one of the NFL's team, yes. And then you had Max Verstappen. Now Max Verstappen is just he's there's nothing even personal. It's just like, oh yeah, he's been nominating, he's been winning. Yeah, everyone is to nominate. Like, that's the only like angle of influence, really. I was really disappointed. I just felt like, can we? I mean, of course. Like, can we? Can he try? Like, I know he has a PR team. I know he's trying. He's better. He's a much better. Like, he's more forthcoming nowadays. I mean, he's not like, his PR has improved from like a while back that is with Max. And today, but I feel like this today during the, his cool down, the Max Verstappen podcast, so he was laughing. Of course, he chuckled. I mean, he tried to hide it. He chuckled. He chuckled when he saw the back shot that Aston Martin Stroll literally like. This was not even bumped. He went into the rear of Daniel Ricciardo's V-Cub car. V-Cub. It was so funny. It's not funny. Like, it's hilarious when you look at it. As in, unfortunate because it had devastating endings for Daniel Ricciardo, but it was still like hilarious. And seeing as Max is like, yeah, that's my fault. That was during this, like, the safety car restart, when the safety car gets it back into the pit, and then it's Max Verstappen who dictates he is dictating the pace. So the way they are weaving on this, whatever, warming up, and then he dictates when they can go racing. Now he can take us back to racing conditions. And now I think he bunched up the whole grid, and literally everyone is so close. And then now we had Alonso on soft, so he locked up, and then there was like all this domino effect behind him. So everyone was like, boom, boom, boom. We even had like after that safety car, the one brought out by Bottas. Immediately after, we had another safety car because now Tsunoda was, there was like a bit of clipping. So Stroll rams into Daniel Ricciardo, who touches Piastri, and that's how Piastri got his damage, like, from today's race. And then also we had Magnussen clipping Tsunoda. It was crazy. And then Tsunoda, was it the same? Am I confusing these things? But no, like, I think it's in the same like breadth of things. Yeah, there was that whole like fracas. So we had Stroll, Ricciardo, after a few laps or whatever, he had to retire. He had sustained some floor damage, but that's after Tsunoda. Tsunoda had already retired because I think he couldn't even manage to get his car back. And then Magnussen had also like a puncture, but he was able to get back into the race, and he was given actually like a 10-second penalty as well, and also a 10-second penalty for Stroll for ramming into the back of Daniel Ricciardo. People saying that, I mean, is that his fault or whatever, but anyway, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's like, I think it's just in normal roads, like the car behind is always the one at fault, right? So he was unfortunately like, clipped for that. Anyway, back to the Max Verstappen thing. Yeah, that like time 100 at like his description of like how influential. Why is he actually being chosen to be like one of the most 100, like top 100 most influential people in the world? Like, it lacked a bit of personality in comparison to the other bios that I read. Anyway, congratulations to Max for that. Anyway, he's still bringing like a bit of spotlight to Formula One. Yeah, so Max is operating on a different realm. He's really showing up. He's really taking no prisoner. Checo Perez, I mean, he said like there will always be pressure and like in a lot of scrutiny for anyone who's driving next to Max Verstappen. If you are in the garage next to his, like as a teammate, there's always going to be like a spotlight on you. So there's always going to be scrutiny for the person, whoever you are driving next to Max. And yeah, I mean, fair enough. Several of his other teammates he's raced alongside previously, that is Max Verstappen. There's always, you have to measure up. Like and I think Perez is doing like quite okay. Hope he carries this form for the rest of the season. I don't know, because now we've kept on saying like, why can't you extract whatever Max is extracting from that car? But I mean, he's doing his best. I don't even want to go much into that. I really don't have any comments. Let's go to the McLaren. McLaren this weekend were like, oh my God, if we cannot, like, everyone expected McLaren not to go very well around here. Like, this was not a track that's suited to the McLaren car. But then look at them now. P2 for Lando Norris, and excellent strategy for him. Pitting, going long, and then getting very lucky with a safety car. That's very good for them. I feel like they've just been on a continuous good form, good development for the team, really. Unfortunate for Oscar Piastri, who sustained some damage, finished P8 for McLaren for today's race. I mean, I'm so sure he could have loved to do much better. So we're hoping maybe now they're bringing upgrades in Miami, the McLaren team. So yeah, I hope that's a better opportunity. I hope he gets a bit lucky, because literally, like, it's in those situations you're like, oh my God, I was just chilling, and then all of a sudden I'm being affected. That was like Oscar Piastri. He had no business getting damage from Daniel Ricciardo's hit, but then unfortunately he was there, so he got unlucky with that. And I feel so bad for Oscar Piastri. My prediction had him finishing in the podium, to be honest. So on the podium, so I'm really sad to see him down in P8, but still some points for McLaren. I feel like the energy there, I'm so happy for them. I can't wait to see what the upgrades do in Miami. Another different track layout, different track in terms of what the downforce needs, the amount of rowing you have to bring into that race. It's like a very different track and race compared to the Chinese Grand Prix. So that might be like a good opportunity for Oscar Piastri as well. I hope he really does well, to be honest. I really want a good result for him. Like, I still think Oscar will get a win before Lando. But I feel like for Lando, it's just coming. We had like that. He was on pole for the sprint race. Unfortunately, he fumbled that. I hope he really is able to put it together as well when there's a chance for him to win. At least winning in whatever form. Like, can you win? Remember Oscar, by the way. Oscar has a sprint win, by the way. Yeah, Oscar has a sprint win. Yeah. And yeah, I hope Lando's time will come. Mercedes, let's talk Mercedes now. George Russell really had like just a very quiet race. He was starting very high. I think he had qualified quite, of course, high up compared to like Lewis Hamilton. He had qualified P8, finished the race P6. That's good. A couple of points for Mercedes there. And then Lewis Hamilton, great drive. I mean, Lewis, we just have to say, I mean, I love Lewis Hamilton. Like, I support Lewis Hamilton, but like, can we stop with the changes? Like, if your car is operating on that sweet spot, like this car, the W15 is, I really wanted to go this whole episode without calling that car W50, because I really don't want to talk about it. It's such a devastating car anyway. So Lewis Hamilton should have I think he also had said it, he's the one who opted for a few like changes after the sprint race. I think he should have just left the car, and he's voiced the same concerns. But like today, I kind of feel like the whole race we just was here. Oh, I don't know if I've explained before in an episode how like we're able, like, so there's a whole, let me do it, maybe for those people who've not had this, it's not a fact, but this information before. So the way Formula One works, like the broadcast, they have like another like headquarters in, is it Briggins in like the UK. So we have like, of course, like the TV director, or I don't know how TVs work or whatever. So there's always a lot of feedback with the drivers. There's always like, so team radio, like there's so many team radios. There's, I think, so many team exchanges during a Grand Prix, during a race, exactly. So they can't play everything. So the director, the one who's like telling, play this, is always like, it's like a live TV show, like it's like they are directing a whole movie on the go. So it's crazy. Like the team radios they put out help shape the narratives for that race. I feel like that's like a bit, so that's how it works. So they don't broadcast all the team radios. So, but I kind of felt like today the spotlight was on Lewis Hamilton. He was complaining. Oh my God, he was not having it. He was not happy. This guy's slow. My balance. Anyway, he's the one who, I think he said he messed up with that balance. Is like, oh my God, what happened and everything. Yeah, I kind of feel like today we got a lot of complaints from Lewis Hamilton, and somehow today luck worked on his side. The safety cars, everything, the retirements propped him up. He drove a good. He had some very beautiful overtakes. There's that turn 9 overtake on the Haas, and it's a very unconventional place to overtake. It's like a high speed corner, and it's very hard to overtake there. And he did it, and he's like, oh, he was asked about it first race interview. He's like, oh, okay, no big deal. It's just textbook stuff, really. I mean, anyways, like I think he drove nicely today, driving from like a P18 and some point he was running P19 up to like a P9 and some points for him. That's brilliant. And having finished P2 in the sprint race, that's like 9 points for Lewis Hamilton coming out of this weekend. The seven points from the sprint race and 2 from today's race. Toto Wolff stays annoying me. I don't want to talk about it. Like. Toto and his comments. Anyways, I'm just so glad that Lewis is finally leaving that establishment. Let's talk about the Ferrari. Ferrari, they still. I love. I'm really actually like a big Charles Leclerc fan. Like I am, but I don't get him. Like yesterday after, I don't know. He's just starting to not rub me the right way, and it's okay. They finished P4, P5, P4 for Charles Leclerc, P5 for Carlos Sainz. Charles Leclerc got also very stayed out longer, took advantage of the safety car. Very good. I mean, a solid race for Ferrari, but we expected them to be a bit higher up. But seeing as also they had qualified quite like not very highly. They had a very bad qualifying yesterday. So they were starting P6, P7. So for them to finish at P4, P5, then that's good for them. Like that's a good haul. But we expect better, and I hope they keep getting better anyway. So let's talk about Hülkenberg, Nico qualified P9 today. That helped in him finishing in the points for now. I don't know if he's going to be investigated for like a safety car pit lane. I don't know, safety car infringement, something. I don't know. There's something he's been investigated for. But for now, he's finished in the points. And either way, I think if he's given like a 5-second penalty, his P10 is still safe. I mean, that's good. I mean, the Haas team, they've decided to do like different from what they normally do. Have I talked about this? No, I'm hoping I haven't talked about this already. But like they've decided to bring the upgrades of. No, I talked about it in the first quali show yesterday. So of course, like Haas this season they have a new team principal, Ayao Komatsu. They've decided to bring upgrades very early on in the season rather than waiting so long, deep into the season when they had very many issues last year, especially with the upgrades and whatever. Them bringing an upgrade and then the old spec car without the upgrades working better than the car they've brought the upgrades on. So this season, it's good for them. Like, I love it for them. They seem to have changed that, and Nico is testament to that. K-Mag was also I think there was so much more that could be done on that car. But I think he had suffering that whole, I think the 10 seconds he got a penalty. That really does work up the motivation for a driver to actually build up and up and up. Let's talk about the Aston Martins. Stroll, I keep on telling everyone, I will say it. Everyone's like, oh my God, who's going to fill that Aston Martin? Okay, as long as Lawrence Stroll, that's the owner of Aston Martin. As long as he's here, Lance will always be in Formula One. I mean, they've said that whole experiment, Aston Martin, is just built around Stroll. But Alonso keeps showing us there's so much to extract from that Aston Martin. But then, Lance still falls short of that. But now there's nothing else we can say. That's Formula One. If you think you're only here because you drive fast, then, so many things have to align for you. There's the money angle for Formula One. It's just quite unfortunate, but I hope we get to see more deserving drivers driving in Formula One next year. But I do like Lance as well. Lance is a Scorpio, I am, and I like him. He's never doing those VR things. He doesn't need it. His dad is a billionaire. Let's talk about the VCAB, unfortunate, retirement for both cars, nothing they could do about it. Retirement for Daniel Ricciardo, retirement for Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki had a very good outing in Japan last weekend, so the last time out. So that's really it's quite unfortunate to have him drop out of the race, retire today. Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon, very good for them. I think they've now moved up. They are on top. They are a bit higher in the constructors. That's a good outing for them. They had a number of upgrades, but I think on Esteban Ocon's car, them finishing 15, 13. That's really like impressive stuff from Alpine for now. Yeah, that's like really good stuff. I hope they continue doing better. Is there any other driver we've really not? Yeah, the Williams. To be honest, I don't know. I think we began the season hyping them so much, but then they've just fallen short. But I hope things can. This season, I mean, it's just round 5. We're going to round 6 in Miami in like a fortnight. So maybe things might turn around for them. So that's something to watch out for. Yeah. So I think that's for me. Like this race, I'd rate it like a 6 out of 10. Really, it wasn't like that boring, but but also it wasn't like also that interesting. Aston Martin, they had a weird strategy for Alonso today. I really didn't get it. But, like, if they get it, that's fine. If they got it, that's fine. I mean, who am I to argue against data? I'm always arguing sometimes against data. Anyway, that's like it. We're going to Miami in a fortnight. Miami is a track that's, I said, is already different. This is a track that both Alpines last year scored points in Miami. So maybe it might, and even like Kevin Magnussen as well. K-Mag scored points for Haas, the Haas team last year. So yeah, like that's something exciting to look out for. Formula One Academy is also returning next time. We're with Formula One in Miami. Formula One Academy will return. We'll get to see what the girls have been up to and how they do around that track. We'll also have returned to say, I think we'll see a lot of Gunther Steiner a lot. He's the official ambassador for the Miami Grand Prix. So he's like, yeah, so it's really like an interesting thingy. I'm actually like so excited to go racing in Miami. That's it for me from this weekend. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, and on TikTok. And remember to have a good week ahead and keep it locked. Keep it the Wheelspin Podcast. Bye.